Hello, everyone. Welcome to another lesson on IELTS academic rating. We are talking about task 2. In the previous lesson, we talked about structure that you want to sort of form your essay about. In this one, we are continuing that theme. So we are continuing on the theme of structure for task 2. In the previous two lessons, or in the previous lessons, we talked about two types of questions that you're asked in task 2. So one was agreement or disagreement, meaning that you need to write an essay and you need to sort of have an opinion if you agree or disagree about a subject, and you provide reasons for it as well. And also another type is discussing both points of view and giving your opinion. So it's very similar, but you need to sort of provide sort of alternative point of view that is not aligned with your own points of view. In this one, we are just continuing on that path. I call it type 3. You're asked to talk about advantage or disadvantage of a subject. Typically, I think in the theme of technology or culture or, for example, climate change, technology, those kind of things. So I wrote down an example for the advantage and disadvantage essay, and we can talk about how we can structure an essay around this. We're not going to write an essay. We're just going to talk about how we can give a scaffold. Imagine that you're building a building, you're constructing a building, and first you want to provide a scaffold, and that's what we are doing here. So first we want to sort of provide a foundation, and then we gradually add more details to it. So when we're talking about structure for this one, for example, question is, some people believe that working from home is beneficial for employees. Let me highlight so we know where we are. So some people believe that working from home is beneficial for employees, while others think it reduces productivity. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of working from home. So it's very obvious. The thing that you need to sort of make sure that you really understand is you want to provide both points of view, advantage and disadvantage. And here you don't need to have an opinion which one is better. You just want to discuss both points of view. So let's move to the next page. So the way that we want to structure it, for example, for this specific topic, so first is the introduction. In the introduction, again, you paraphrase the question. So the question was, is working from home is beneficial or not? So you provide that paraphrasing. So you essentially mainly paraphrase. And you can mention that, there are advantages to working from home and there are advantages to working on site. And you can mention that in this essay, we're going to talk about both. So in the body paragraph 1, you can start with the advantages. So you can start with the advantages of, so the main focus was working from home. So the advantages of working from home is convenience, for example. You save time by not commuting. And for example, better connection to family, something like that. Also, I would like to mention, it doesn't really have to be 100% sensible. So, for example, if you want to say, oh, working from home allows you to work on your hobbies as well, for example, this is not a sensible argument because it's not good for the company that you're employing for the employer to, or for the employee rather, to to work on their hobby. But it doesn't matter. In the context of task 2 and IELTS academic rating, you want, or the examiners want to know if you can make coherent argument. So as long as your argument is coherent, you are fine. But in the example of working from home, I think there's plenty of advantages that you can talk about. And in the body paragraph number 2, you can talk about the disadvantages. So for example, you can be, let's write it down. And you can always start the paragraph with sort of a connecting clause. For example, you can say, however, I believe there are disadvantages to working from home or remote work as well. The examples are such and such, and we're going to talk about those. So the disadvantages is, for example, this is an example. This is not necessarily my belief, but for example, you can mention less productivity, or too much online meet, or too many online meetings, too many online meetings, less connections to your colleagues, those kind of things. And what else we can think of in terms of disadvantages of working from home? Isolating. It could be socially a little bit isolating, for example, as well. So, and you can go on, but typically 2 or 3 from either advantage or disadvantage is perfectly fine. And finally, in the conclusion, this difference for this kind of essay, that you're asked to talk about advantages and disadvantages, you're not necessarily asked to provide a point of view. You're not asked to state your own opinion. So in this one, you're just talking about the advantages and disadvantages. So you start as discussed, for example, as discussed in the essay, there are several advantages to remote work, and there are as well as several disadvantages in the remote work. And you're not asked to state your opinion. You can obviously state it, but you're not required to, because as going back to the question, discuss the advantages and disadvantages of working from home. You're not asked to say provide your opinion. However, you can say, I believe working from home is in general more beneficial because it's more convenient and you save time. Example. Or you can sort of flip-flop to the other argument, the other disadvantages. So this was the type 3 kind of questions. Another question, type of question that I pre-wrote here is a problem solution essay. So in the problem solution essay, as the name suggests, you are asked to provide a solution. So you need to be a little bit more creative. So here is the question. Many cities around the world are facing traffic congestion. What are the causes of this problem, and what solution can be implemented? So right off the bat, it's very easy to come up with answers. For example, public transportation, better bike lanes, those kind of things. You can already think of like 2 things, and that's perfectly fine. You don't need to come up with 10 different solutions. You can stick to one, honestly. I think it's better to stick to one. So for example, for this case, the solution, to me at least, is very obvious, that could be public transportation. And you don't need to provide 10 different solutions for one problem. Provide just one, but provide it really elegantly and like work it out. Just don't throw public transportation and boom, and problem solved, moving on. Generally, the thing that comes first to your mind in terms of solution, stick to that one and then give more body to it. And we're going to talk about that. again, the theme of the sort of task 2, to make it simple. Don't try to sort of bring all the arguments, bring all the solutions. Don't try to sort of give super complicated arguments to argue for one point of view. Just make it very straightforward, give one example, and essentially move on. So for in terms of structure that we were talking about, structure for problem and solutions. So again, in the introduction, in the intro, you just essentially introduce a problem and its significance. Let's say, like, for example, the traffic congestion is a significant problem that causes a lot of wasting of time, and you can come up with a number. It's like every day millions of people are wasting their time in traffic for hours, and that is a significant amount of time that we need to sort of spend time to think about how we can solve that kind of problem. So that already is good enough. So you just introduce a problem and it's significant. Next up, you in the body paragraph 1, you can talk about the causes of the problem. The cause of the problem. So obviously, the bigger the city, the higher the chance that there is a traffic. So the cause of the problem. So big cities, for example, there's not enough highways, for example. There's not enough public transport in the cities. There are not enough bike lanes. There's a lot of physical work that needs to happen, that people need to physically attend to their job sites, those kind of things. And you can go on. Why this caused such a problem. And at the end, to finish that paragraph, you can mention, I believe the solution to this big humanity problem of traffic is to introduce more affordable public transportation. And so with that one, you move to the next paragraph, body paragraph 2, and then you talk about the solution. So in the solution, and I mentioned, it's easier to just focus on the one subject. And in this one, we are only going to talk about public transport. And you can mention, studies show that in the cities that has very robust public transport system, traffic is decreased. And that results in better mental health, better air quality. It results in people overall happier because they're not wasting their time in traffic and those kind of things. So just focus on the public transport, and you can mention, public transport is at the beginning it might be a huge investment, it might be a big investment for a lot of cities, but overall, over time, this investment will pay off by people being happier, people not wasting their time, and so on and so forth. So just focus on one solution and write like 3 sentences or 4 sentences about that solution, and that's perfectly fine. Body paragraph number 2, and that's it. And you move on to conclusion, and in the conclusion, you essentially you reiterate what you mentioned already. So you mentioned, there is a huge problem, and you can always make numbers up. Every year, billions of hours of humanity time is wasted in traffic. Something like that. Like, no one's gonna check that. Like, actually, is it billions of hours of the human's life is wasted in traffic every day? No, it just doesn't matter. Like, you just to make you can make these numbers up. Nobody cares as long as they're sensible. Again, it's all about sensibility and coherence. You don't need to be super factual. So just make something up. Sensibility and coherence. I write it here. So in the conclusion, you mentioned that like it's a huge time wastage, and you provide the solution with the scientific based, evidence based solutions, something like that. Again, nobody checks your sources here. There are several studies showed that traffic is terrible for mental health, and the solution is public transport. And I believe that kind of investment helps reducing the traffic and improves the air quality. Things like that is perfect for conclusion, and you sort of wrap up your points, you reiterate the problem, and you introduce the solution in your conclusion, and you wrap it up essentially. And that's the four main type of task 2 questions that you're asked to give answer. That's it. Essentially, to recap my entire sort of these 2 lessons that I was mentioning, try to sort of minimize the complexity. Try to make it simple, straightforward arguments. Try to write about those. Try not to make it complicated. And go to the point and take the extreme case. Take one case and just give bodies to those and like make coherent and sensible sentences for those arguments, and you are going to get really good results if you just follow these rules. And that's it for today. I hope you like it, and see you in the next one. Cheers.